I'm Erebus, otherwise known as the Necromancer Erebus. I'm going to go ahead and get some stuff set up for myself really quick. To begin with, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for joining me again for another video. It's really good to see you all again. It's very nice that some people were interested in some of the subjects that I was keen on covering. I'm hoping that this one is a little bit shorter than the last one that I did. I'm going to go ahead and get some of the script open for me. Um, yeah, welcome back. So, the subject that we're going to be covering today is folk magic. Folk magic is a nuanced subject. This is due to its very nuanced nature. Folk magic is, or as folk practices go, a whole, very unique in the sense that their traditions and their methods are going to vary for a variety of reasons. Region, topography, culture, resources, those all influence a folk practice immensely. And yet, it is a practice that can have a variety of cultures, or it can have none whatsoever. Folk is unique as it almost quite literally means just of the people. This means that the people of an area or a region influence the practice itself. Practitioners of this school of study are working very closely with not just the loci, so your local spirits, but also the needs of the people. In our modern context, this may not be the case as not everyone is open about their spiritual practices anymore, as well as we may or may not live in an area where it's not considered socially acceptable to be practicing things such as witchcraft. But as a whole, this may still mean working with the needs of your local spirits, as well as the energies, even if you don't really engage with the community of the people around you directly. A lot of folk magic is easily and commonly, and even traditionally, done secretly. Not everyone is always aware of their folk practitioner and what they are doing for their local people. This particular practice has well established methods as well as unique methods that are unique per culture all over the globe. There's the things such as traditional Chinese spirituality, which is classified as a breed of shamanism, to Balkan, Baltic, Slavic, African, Islander, Indigenous, Aboriginal, Mongolian. There's Italian folk magic, Latin American, Romani, Turkish, Welsh, Gaelic, Irish, Germanic, Norse, Indo European. The list goes on and on. You get the picture. For the most part, the root and core of all of these traditions is eerily the same, or at least they're very, very similar. Mostly because people as a whole need certain things to thrive: food, water, shelter, security. If you're familiar with the Max Neef's list of human needs, a lot of this school of magic's focus traditionally revolves around that, which is not too dissimilar from other studies in and of themselves. That is all the script that I actually wrote for myself. So from now on, we're gonna freehand it. I'm gonna close that. So that is the basis for folk magic. When you practice a folk practice, what you are doing is you're working a lot with your local resources. It's not about what you don't have. It's about what you have right now and what can you make right now. Just because you may not have or you may not believe in your mind that you have the resources available to you does not mean that you are incapable of producing something. Folk magic is very much so rooted in taking what little you may already have and using it to your advantage. It's a very flexible and nuanced practice in that regard. You don't need. Okay, let me back up. You do not always need specific resources in order to do certain things with folk magic. Creativity and flexibility is huge. You are better off trying to make something from scratch sometimes, rather than following a recipe directly. The reason why certain things in folk magic really require specific tools as well as resources is because they're looking for very particular effects. And the reason why these particular effects may be important is because they're not necessarily being utilized through your own allowances. And I still have Discord open. Oh no! I'm going to ignore that. There's a little one down there, but not going to acknowledge it. Um, but it's because you are somebody else discussed a particular subject relatively recently, called licenses. You have your own license, and that is very correct. That was a very wonderful post, and you know who you are. So your license is very important. And a lot of the things that you do in folk magic, you are only ever using your license or the licenses of the spirits that you are working with. So whether those are the plants, the minerals, the elements that are around you, whether or not you went to a river or a crossroads, wherever you went, whatever you did, those are the licenses that you're working with. Certain recipes of folk magic, however, are working with particular deities or other entities and spirits that are very, very particular, or it is also working with your ancestors. And so, if you give Grandpa vodka, but Grandpa does not like vodka, Grandpa likes whiskey rye, Grandpa may not be coming out to help you. He may not like that very much, and he might just think that you're lazy. I need to close Discord. Grandpa may not be particularly pleased with whether or not you are giving him whiskey rye versus vodka. So that may or may not break whether or not your spell or ritual is going to be particularly successful. Some spirits that you're working with, or even if you're working with folk creatures, I closed Discord. I'm so sorry. Just ignore that. They may not appreciate certain things versus what you're required to give them. Certain entities and certain deities, you can't make substitutions for. It's just how it is. We don't make the rules, we just abide by them because we're the ones that are asking for their assistance. In addition to this, a lot of folk magic is using your own allowances. This is why you are able to be flexible with what you do and don't do. So, whether or not you go into your backyard and you find a few herbs and ingredients, that is utilizing those particular spirits as well as your own skills and allowances in order to make something happen. You don't need essentially permissions and um, don't know what I'm trying to pick out of my brain for words, but you don't need the assistances of other very particular and specific deities and forces in order to make something happen. You are the force that is making it happen, and you have boosts and allies who are incorporated into your work with you. That is why communication with loci is so very important to folk magic. Knowing your allies that are around you. That is one right there. I'm not sure if you can see her, but she's really, really old. This tree right here, she keeps this ooh, she keeps this space very, very safe. And she actually has her sisters. You can't really see them from this angle or this direction, but one's right there, one's right there. And this right here, you can kind of see his leaves. This is my mulberry tree. Um, he's very friendly, but he also does not allow bullshit into this space. But he will only give me mulberries if I'm on good terms with the fair folk in my area. They're in cahoots, and their relationship has long since been beyond my time spent here, and therefore I have to respect both this tree's relationship to the fair folk that are unique to my area first before I can even consider making trades and deals. There's a very intricate relationship between them, and I have to both respect that, and I also have to play by their rules because me sitting out here is technically speaking, I am allowed to do so, but I have to make sure that I'm not saying or doing anything that may or may not make the inhabitants of this space unhappy, because I will need them later on for work that I would like to do. I'm hoping he gives me a good amount of berries this year because I've not only paid the spirits, I have also done requests, and I have also already done some work with them in order to boost and bolster the relationship that we have sort of begun to garner over the last like 4 years that I've been here. Additionally, I have I think it's called a red oak or maple, emperor maple, I think it's called. He's right over there, but you can't really see him because the camera's not facing that direction. He's very no nonsense. He does not allow me to take anything from him. I can only bury things near him. He does not allow me to do anything else with him. I cannot take his leaves. He does not like it when I even like if I think about taking something from him or even from his space, he gets very finicky and very angry. Um, he grows beautifully. He has a couple of dying branches, and he will not let me take them off of him whatsoever. He wants me to leave him completely alone. And in return, he makes sure that nothing happens to the rest of my house. He's very close. He could absolutely thrash me if he wanted to, but he will not, because he and the spirit of my house have a superbly intricate relationship. They're very good friends. Um, Knowing these things are what's going to help me work with them. I can work with him in order to create barriers around my property, and those barriers are going to help keep other spirits and unwanted visitors away. If I communicate with him and I speak with him, I can then give him what he wants. What does he want? He wants water from the river that's literally right across the way over there. So I take a hike and I take my backpack and I take a bunch of bottles and I collect water from that river. But I have to go to that river first. And not only do I have to go to that river first, but I have to speak to the four spirits that reside within that river. They're all very odd creatures, but they all reside within the river, and I have to have permission from all four of them before I can take water from them. And they always need to know what I am taking water from them for. They won't just let me take it and be like, oh, I just need it for a spell. They don't accept that as a response. I have to be specific about what I'm intending to do, and then they give me allowance to do so. And then I hike it all the way back home on foot. Knowing what's available to you is exceptionally important. So once you've developed a better relationship with the spirits and the entities that are around you, you can begin working with those forces and those energies and getting to know what they are good at or not good at. I utilize the Virginia Creeper in my space in order to also keep out unwanted visitors, because Virginia Creeper is very, very strong. It's almost like netting. It does a very good job of gripping tightly onto things and hanging on, and it does not allow things to pass through it or to even cut it. So it's a very good protection herb. Uh, oh my god, I said herb, not herb. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind already. So it's nice to utilize and to allow it to grow. The only problem with it is it's toxic to dogs. So that's something that you should always be aware of. What is safe, what is not safe. This year, because of I made a great relationship with a massive catnip herb that was growing near the water of the river that I go to for my water. And I made a great relationship with her. She was very friendly, she was very flamboyant, and she goes, "Hey, why don't you take one of my siblings home with you?" So I did. I uprooted her and I carried her all the way back and I put her in a pot. She was very very warm. She was very friendly. She loved it. She did very very well. I kept her very well watered because you can pretty much grow catnip straight in water. So I planted her in a deep pot that I hung on my front porch, so she could greet everybody that came by. She could see everything and she could do everything. And it also gave her a higher vantage point for when she flowered. And she did. She brilliantly blossomed into thousands of little flowers. Have you ever seen catnip flowers? At the top of them, they have like almost like a conical um, pinion, and that pinion then like just blossoms full of flowers. And she then died because that's what they do. And I now have five little babies growing in that pot now this year. And then additionally, after she had flowered, she must have already not only just germinated, but she must have also been pollinated as well. Because in my yard now, all across where my fence is, where I love my dog store, and you can kind of see my fence goes out that way too. All across my fence now, I have rows of catnip now just that have absolutely exploded, and that's now a resource that I have available to me, thankfully, because I've created and cultivated these relationships. I haven't done too much work with them. I'm letting them feel established and feel comfortable enough to start speaking and reaching out to me. I don't want them to feel like they have any obligation to actually work with me. I admire them, I compliment them, and I engage with them. However, I don't have not done a whole lot with them yet. I want to wait till about summer before I start actually beginning to work with them. They've actually had some time to establish themselves and actually feel confident in where they are and where they have settled. Um, this is actually all I think I'm going to have. This is just a primer. I'm planning on doing about 2 to 3 videos, probably just 2, on folk magic, because I this is your primer for folk magic, and a way for you to kind of understand what it looks like from my perspective, as well as how you develop your folk magic practice as well if you are interested in studying it. Going back through and just recapping really quick, your ethnicity and your background can be a huge impact for how your folk magic works. You can find a lot of traditions and methods of folk magic through your heritage as well as your region. So, not only do your concerns and your skills revolve heavily upon the resources you have right in front of you right now, and within your backyard, or even down the street, on the sidewalk, in your parks, anywhere that you may go, anywhere where you may walk or even drive, everything that's local to you you can utilize so long as you've cultivated a good and healthy relationship with those spirits. Those are your loci, your local spirits. And then from there, you can mix your ethnic backgrounds and those traditions and methods into your folk magic. You could utilize Slavic or Balkan and, whatever you have going on, Indo-Germanic, Italian folk magic. There's also like Latin American folk magic, of course. There's Chinese shamanism. There's also Welsh and, so Cymraeg and Gaelic. You can utilize anything from those avenues if that's your heritage and ethnicity. You can incorporate a lot of that material into what you're doing right now. It doesn't just have to be spurned out of your own imagination. You can utilize all of that as helpful primers to start developing something that's a little bit unique to you and your region. This is very helpful because if you develop these sorts of skills, you not only have those resources available to you within your area, but if you move or you are uh, going to a new location, whether you're camping or just traveling, you can then sort of meet and connect with other spirits and beings that are not native to your particular area. Developing these unique relationships is very good in the long run because it helps not only develop your own skills and senses, but it also helps you understand how the ecology of your environment may help you or influence you in the future. Know where your good herbs are, know what they are, and understand what they're good for and what their personalities are like, and then figure out how you can cultivate relationships with them. What do they want? What do they feel like they need? Do they appreciate your presence there even, or should you not be there? Know how to use your discernment skills. There's so many insects out here. know how to know Learn how to use your discernment skills in order to determine what is going to work and what is not going to work, as well as what do you have available to you. This is already about a 60-minute video, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it short here. I'm going to continue this probably in a part 2. So if I get it done today, I get it done today. If I don't, it'll be up at some point in time. So this is your primer for folk magic, just some concepts, ideas, as well as ways that you can begin to go about practicing or beginning to explore the concepts of the practice itself. If you have any concerns or quandaries, most of you know how to get a hold of me on Discord. And if not, feel free to leave a comment and I can go ahead and try to cover it in future videos. Thank you very much, and it is always good to see all of you. May you be blessed as your gods and spirits see you fit.